Welcome back. This is our third episode. Is it second or third episode?
It's our third episode.
Third episode of Real Talk with Nadia and Alina. So today we have a super exciting episode, and it's actually one of the juiciest topics, one of our favorite topics to talk about, because I personally struggle with this all the time.
I've gone through this about 3 times before in my life.
Yeah. So what are we talking about today, Alina?
Today we are talking about why we feel tired all the time. I bet so many of you guys can relate to this when you ask, how was your day? A lot of people are like, I'm just so tired.
Or you want to say that. Most people, how's your day? They're like, good. But really inside you're like, I'm dying inside.
Exactly. And there's a lot of you who maybe need a couple of cups of coffee every single day just to get by, or you're even sleeping 7 or 8 hours, but you still wake up not really feeling very refreshed. So we're gonna dive into this today and just talk about burnout and why it happens.
Yeah, and how important burnout is for so many different things. So also a huge part in weight loss and metabolism, immune health, libido, so many juicy things.
Yep.
All right.
Really affects everything.
And just a reminder, guys, we're here for you. I am going to be doing my best to monitor all the live comments. So feel free to chime in, and we will do our best to get to you as soon as we see your comments.
Okay, awesome. Let's get started. So, why are we so tired all the time? The reason behind it, well, one of the major reasons behind it is adrenal fatigue. So some of you guys may be familiar with this concept right now, and in case you're not, don't worry, we're going to go through everything about it and tell you the symptoms, the causes, and what you can do about it. So adrenal fatigue, actually I'll back up and let you guys know what the adrenals actually are. So maybe Nadia, you can model this for us.
Ooh.
Where are our adrenal glands?
If I am your kidney, so actually if we are kidneys, adrenal glands are little hats that sit on top of your kidneys. So remember, your kidneys are lower, just down here. And yeah, your adrenals are tiny little glands that literally sit right on top of your kidneys.
Yeah. And one of their main functions is producing stress hormones. Now, that's not the only thing that they do. They actually are involved in the manufacture of around 50 hormones, so I heard from Nadia today.
Oh, yes, yes.
So
directly or indirectly involved with the production of 50 or over 50 hormones.
That's insane, guys. That's a lot of responsibility for these tiny little triangular glands. Now, what happens is when we stress them out too much, when we overburden them, when we overwhelm them, they get exhausted. So to give you another example, perhaps, if you stare at a screen for like 12 hours a day, your eyesight is eventually going to feel the strain and your vision is going to worsen. In exactly the same way, if you are stressed out all the time, your adrenal glands are going to feel the burden and they are going to start getting drained and not function as efficiently.
Absolutely. And just a note, 2 notes. One, I think that stress has a really bad rap just because most of the time we're way over here when it comes to too much stress. But your body actually needs a healthy amount of stress. So too little stress is not good, but obviously way too much stress is where we run into the issues that we're going to run into. The other thing that I wanted to mention is there is a big difference between adrenal fatigue and adrenal insufficiency. So adrenal fatigue deals with a range of symptoms that we're going to be talking about today. And adrenal insufficiency is actually a medical diagnosed condition where there's damage to either your pituitary or your adrenal glands. So that's pretty serious.
So that's something you would need a doctor's diagnosis for. Basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So going back to the adrenal glands, guys, there's 2 main stress hormones you need to know about, and we'll keep it very brief and general. But your 2 main ones. So the first one is your short-term stress hormones, which are adrenaline and norepinephrine. Now, most of you guys are familiar with an adrenaline rush. So I've put a car up on the screen to give a little bit of an example. So let's say Nadia's driving in front of me, and suddenly she just swerves right in front of me and cuts me off. Nadia.
God, I'm so sorry.
And when that happens, my heart rate's just going to start like thump, thump, thump. It's going to go really fast. My heart's beating fast. Maybe I'm getting a little sweaty. I'm breathing faster, but I have laser sharp focus then. Because what adrenaline is doing is It's basically shooting all the oxygen and glucose supply to your brain and to your limbs so that you're ready to like fight or flight and take action.
Back in the day, this made a lot more sense when we were more so running away from bears or predators like tigers instead of deadlines or everyday emotional stresses. So you can literally imagine, so back in the day, where many, many years ago, we actually had predators that would chase us and we would have to run really fast or get away from them. In order to do that, our body had to respond. So that means we need more blood, we need more focus. We are not worried about digesting those beautiful strawberries that I picked from these bushes. Our number one goal is get away from the predator.
Yep. And now, can your brain distinguish between that and, let's say, a deadline these days?
Absolutely not. I would say that there are some stressors in day-to-day life, like maybe forgetting my mother's birthday, that would probably be perceived more stressful than a bear attack.
Okay, so your brain can't differentiate. Awesome.
Stress is stress. Our brain does not have eyes when it comes to that. It's perceived. So it's a very subjective response, and different people experience stress differently.
Okay. So I guess that's where mindfulness comes into, which we'll get into later on, guys,
Absolutely.
and why that's so important.
Yes.
Now, your second stress hormone is called cortisol. Now, again, cortisol has so many functions as well, but in terms of stress, it's more like your long-term stress hormone. So if you feel uptight or anxious every day and just feel under pressure constantly, like you're constantly stressed and you have that tightness maybe in your chest and in your body, that's where cortisol kicks in and is constantly releasing a bit of glucose as like fuel or energy supply.
Right.
So what's the big deal? What's the big deal if we're so stressed out? So what? Everyone goes through it, right? Maybe you sleep a little more, you go on vacation, your body's going to bounce back.
Or just drink a little more coffee.
Yeah, not a big deal. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Or is it?
Or is it?
So we're going to go through all of the symptoms for you guys in depth. But before we even get to that list, sort of wanted to talk you through some core concepts or like health effects of stressing out too much.
A big thing for you guys, and I know hormones can be kind of complex. So we want to help you guys understand what the hormones do and why, so then it makes a lot more sense of why you feel those gross symptoms that you do.
Yeah.
And then after that, we're going to give you some great tips on what you can do right away to start beating this if you do experience this.
Exactly. The more educated you are, the more you're going to understand how to tackle something like adrenal
Knowledge
fatigue.
is power. Knowledge is power.
So health effect number one. It's called the cortisol steal, but I know that's a little bit scientific, so I'm going to give you the metaphor of a factory. So imagine you are at a factory.
What kind of factory?
A toy factory.
Ooh.
A toy factory. And let's say there's all these like raw materials to make these toys. There's like plastic and widgets and other things. I don't know what makes toys.
You're making wooden toys.
Wooden toys.
I want
need
a
wood.
wooden toy train.
Okay, wooden toy train. You have, again, I don't know raw materials, but you have raw materials to make this train. So there's one main assembly line. And now what happens in that main assembly line, they start making different products. So maybe trains, maybe tops, cuckoo clocks, dolls, whatever it is. But if one product is hogging all of the raw materials, if the manager at the factory is like, just make trains,
Nadia needs her train.
then all those raw materials are just going to get diverted towards making trains, and all those other toys aren't going to get made. Now, similarly, if your body, which is like the manager, maybe your brain is the manager saying, hey, only focus on stress hormones because this person is stressed out all the time, then those raw materials are going to go into making a lot of cortisol for stress. And all those other hormones are getting neglected.
Ooh, and we do not want that because all of the other hormones are very important. And just as we do need cortisol, we need to be balanced across the board.
Do you want to talk about maybe what some of those hormones are, like the effects?
Absolutely. So major ones are our sex hormones. So Testosterone, estrogen, these are really important, not only for sex drive and development of our bodies, but also for anti-aging and for making muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Very important.
Definitely. And a lot of women, even in my age group right now, you'll hear their doctors telling them, if you want to be fertile or boost your fertility, try not to be so stressed out. And now you sort of like understand the reasoning behind it, because when your body's in a state of stress, it doesn't feel like a safe space for a new life to grow.
Right. So what we need to do is slowly train the manager to help make sure that it's sending resources everywhere that's needed.
Yeah.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So health effect number 2. So that was the first one. Other hormones are getting neglected. So number 2 is the impact on your blood sugar levels. So remember we talked about how cortisol and adrenaline, their role is really to pump out a bit more glucose for your body, for energy. So you have that energy to run, to fight, do whatever. Now back in the day, going back to Nadia's tiger analogy, now if there's a tiger about to attack me, I'm going to use that energy, that extra glucose that's been pumped, to run away from the tiger, and then it's burned off. That's great.
Because you are actually burning it off.
Yeah.
Because you are physically running away. So your body is like, we need energy. Please move as fast as possible. And then you're burning that energy.
Exactly.
In the tiger scenario.
Now, in our modern day and age,
yes, in the Nadia forgets her mother's birthday,
is she actually running away?
I might be running to the card store, but other than that, I'm probably not. Or for a deadline, for example, if anything, you're probably going to be chained to a desk and being even more sedentary.
So exactly, that's that glucose constantly being pumped out for like your 8-9 hour day. You're still sitting at your desk, it's not getting burned off, you're not moving, you're sedentary, and that's just going to go towards some weight gain, or actually in like restless energy and making you irritable and anxious. So
awful.
Not good.
Not good.
Health effects.
This is stressing me out just talking about it.
Some stress is good. So health effect number 3, guys. This affects a lot of people. So what you need to understand is, so Nadia mentioned that cortisol is very useful, and it's something that we naturally have in our body every day. At the start of the day, we have the highest levels of cortisol, and then they naturally dip towards around like 6 p.m., and that's when melatonin, our sleep hormone, starts to rise.
Dun, 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 dun.
Newsflash. Thank you.
It's a gentle balance of both. And this is where we have our natural body rhythms from our hormone production.
Yes.
And when they're dysregulated, we run into major issues.
So they work antagonistically, just like Nadia is saying. Our natural rhythm is for cortisol to go down, melatonin to go up. So if your cortisol starts to remain high because you're so stressed out, then your melatonin won't start to rise as much as it should. And that's when we end up feeling wired and tired. Like you're so wide awake at night, but you're so tired and you want to sleep. That's adrenal fatigue, and that's that melatonin not rising enough, and that's when you run into something like insomnia.
It's actually one of the worst feelings. I'm sure you guys have experienced it before, when you're laying there and you're so tired, but you just can't get to sleep.
It's that Coldplay lyric.
Oh, is it? What is it?
You feel so tired, but you can't sleep. I'm singing on it.
Maybe we should get them in. No. Coldplay, if you're watching, doubtful. Come to real talk. But no, it's the worst feeling. And it's also a little tricky because, as we'll learn in a little bit, sleep deprivation also leads to adrenal fatigue. So it's this terrible mess that we can get into that if we're not paying attention and trying to take the steps to undo it, the imbalance can go way off the deep end.
Exactly. So now that we've told you sort of the 3 main concepts and you understand the impact of adrenal fatigue, here's a list of symptoms, and this isn't even the entire list. This is probably half, but it's sort of the most common ones that people go through. So exhaustion, we've talked about. Cravings. So if you're someone who's always craving carbs or maybe even salty foods during work, that's a sign of adrenal fatigue.
Absolutely. Those are like hallmark signs. Really sweet sweets or salty things. Yeah.
Insomnia, we've just talked about. digestion problems. So this is your body. Remember how Nadia was talking in the beginning and saying that there ain't no time for digestion?
No time.
Because your body's like, we have to focus. We don't have time to repair cells or digest your strawberries. We are so busy running right now. If you're doing that all the time, you're going to run into issues like indigestion and bloating or constipation. And
even malabsorption, not fully, being able to digest your food properly. I'm also just going to check the comments real quick, see what we have going on, because we get carried away over here. Okay, Debbie. Hey, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
Elaine, also, hello. Renawana. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Hey. And then we have a question from Marie. Marie asks, how can you increase melatonin when you need to sleep and cortisol is in the way? It's an awesome question. And one of my favorite things to do with this have to do with a number one sleep hygiene tactic, which is you should be sleeping in the darkest room possible. Okay, so the lack of light through your eyes sends a signal to your brain that it's getting dark and it's time to sleep. So if you are on a screen for too long and that light is going in your eyes, or you're watching TV, or your bedroom doesn't have very good blinds, or you live in a really busy city and you have a lot of neighbors' lights coming into your room, that lack of darkness is actually going to stop your body's ability to produce more melatonin. So darkness is key. And if you have an issue with that, definitely getting blackout blinds, getting off of your devices. I know people who actually sleep with eyewear. There we go.
I wear an eye mask every night, and it has changed my life.
There you go.
You get much more restful sleep, because it's hard for some people. Like, we get a lot of light coming in at night, even.
Absolutely.
We're a busy street. So,
and this is also where a lot of people who suffer from jet lag, they end up getting a little confused because their body's rhythm goes off. So the best way to try and reset that is using cues. So either if you're trying to stay awake, you want to bring in light, and if you're trying to settle down for the evening, you want to make it as dark as possible. You can start dimming down your lights in your house as early as 5 p.m. Like low lighting, soft lighting,
candles,
nothing like the crazy amount of lights that you see around us right now. But yeah, hopefully that answered that question. That is like rule number one for melatonin production.
A quick ad I want to give to your screen tip. There's a really good app, and I have no affiliation. This is just, it's a free app, Flux.
Okay, so actually, if you have an Apple device, they've installed this app on all computers with the new iOS that actually takes off the blue lighting from your screen at a certain time. And you can turn it on. It's called Night Shift on your phone. And it starts looking like a very warm light, because that is what won't interfere with melatonin production. But I love,
That's exactly absolutely. It. So if you don't have an iPhone or Apple, you guys can just install FLUX, the Flux app, onto your computer. It's free, and just like Nadia said, it follows the natural circadian rhythm of the day. It naturally dims and takes away that like really bright light. So you can install that immediately today, guys.
I would install it right now.
Right now.
We have another question. So hopefully, Marie, that answered your question. Kim says, when I'm stressed, I get a tightening in my stomach to the point where I can't even eat. For sure. So your gut-brain response in that situation is a direct stress response. Now, if that's happening all the time, then that can definitely be a potential symptom of adrenal fatigue. Or it could be more of a acute or a immediate response to a stressful event. So one of the symptoms could be that.
And we are going to go through ways to reverse adrenal fatigue, so that'll definitely be handy for her.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So moving on to some of the other symptoms, we did talk about weight gain already.
Yes, and so it can be weight gain and a serious difficulty losing excess weight. So yeah, and this could go into, especially if you start over-exercising. Exercise is a way that your body sees as stress, right? So if you're over-exercising, or all of a sudden you decide to go from 0 to 100 with your exercise routine, your body's going to see that as stress, and that might make it very difficult for you to start losing weight.
Yep, I've had clients, guys, who were exercising 5 or 6 times a week and not losing weight, but the second that they even stopped or did like gentle swimming or yoga, very restorative, easy yin yoga, or even just sitting back and watching Netflix and hanging out, that's when they started to drop the weight. So it's not always exercise equals weight loss.
No, I've definitely had similar clients who will tell me, you know, I'm eating all the time, I'm eating right, I've reduced my portions, which actually your body can also see as a sign of stress. If you're not eating frequently enough or giving it enough fuel, it thinks that it's stressed. And then they're exercising way over here and they just can't figure out why they can't lose weight. And often it can be as simple as taking a step back or working on other things like stress management. That can be the key to where they start actually seeing results. Just one other question. Oh, we've gotten great questions. Guys, I love the questions. This is awesome.
Keep it up.
Okay, so Linda asks, does menopause cause stress? I am 62. Should be done by now. Linda, menopause is not great. Any changes, right? So as soon as you start having hormonal changes, your body is going to go through a period of time where it's recalibrating. So if you are potentially fighting those symptoms or not taking care of yourself, then that can definitely contribute to more hormonal imbalance. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
One more.
Nice.
Tamina. Hi, Tamina. Asks, how do I control sweet cravings because I have diabetes? Yeah, so that's definitely in this as well and goes into a lot of lifestyle factors. And why don't actually we leave that till the end? Because we talk about a lot of ways to regulate blood sugar and talk a little bit more about cravings towards the end. So we'll get to that.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to skim through some of these other symptoms, guys. Brain fog is a huge symptom when you're always forgetful or you're having trouble even finishing or completing your sentences. This happened to me a lot when I went through this before, so it's not fun. But that's a cue to you that you may have adrenal fatigue.
I feel like I remember this. I feel like we were in the office and you would like start saying something and I'd be like, Alina, do you mean this? And you'd be like, yes.
I'm so stressed out.
Yes. Or if you guys have ever had it where you all of a sudden walk into a room and you're like, what am I doing here? I swear I was supposed to come here for some reason, but I have no idea why. Once in a while, that's okay, but if that's happening a lot and you're having a hard time, could be brain fog.
Yeah. An inability to relax.
Yes.
Always feeling like you need to be doing something, achieving something, working on a to-do list is a big symptom. Mood swings, irritability, low libido, which we talked about.
Absolutely.
Remember in that factory analogy?
If you're not producing your stress hormones, how are you going to have any sort of sex drive?
Yeah. Recurrent infections is huge.
Yes.
So your immune system becomes a little bit depressed and doesn't function as well if you're constantly overburdening your adrenal glands. So if you're someone who always gets sick, you constantly, like if one person sneezes next to you and you suddenly have a cold or a flu, that's a sign to you that your immune system is weak. Maybe you work too hard and all the time.
Could even be injury as well. If you recover from physical injuries very, very slowly, that can be a sign of immune depression too.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So.
Oh, he's so sad. Why me, Alina?
Why does it happen?
Why me?
So this is when we're going to go through some of the causes of adrenal fatigue outside of course, stress as well. Because you may be wondering, well, why do I feel this bad? Doesn't everyone go through stress? Like, why am I unable to handle it? So here are some of the causes. Of course, we can touch upon stress first. It's in bold there for us to just highlight that it is the main reason, and it's not just in the form of emotional stress, it's actually in the form of like physical stress as well, or environmental stress.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit as well. Like,
well, I think the main concept with stress that really comes into play is I think we are actually pretty good. Well, I know I am really good at tricking myself into thinking that I'm great at managing stress. But but it's not until it's too late and I'm burnt out that I've realized I've dealt with excessive amounts of stress. Okay. And remember, guys, a little bit of stress is okay, and this is in the form of mental, emotional, or physical stress. A little bit is okay, but too much over a long period of time is really where we start getting burnout.
Yeah. So some of the other signs for yourself, guys, if you're wondering if that's you, look for cues like, are you a perfectionist? Are you always trying to make sure everything lines up perfectly, or be very controlling, or it's never good enough? Or are you very hard on yourself? Putting a lot of people put pressure on themselves, like I'm just not good enough, you know, in terms of like my work or my family life. If that stresses you out all the time too, or even that's a big indicator. Your reaction to when you lose control of a situation. Huge. So for example, if Alina all of a sudden were to by accidentally spill her water on her shirt right now, would she be able to say, gosh, it's okay, it's just water, it's not great, but it's okay? Or would she go into full-blown meltdown or be inside feeling really strung out or stressed out, right? It's the same thing. Or a coworker, say Alina by accidentally finished my carrots for lunch, and I went in thinking, man, I'm so excited to eat those carrots and hummus for lunch, and they're not there. How am I going to respond? Am I going to sit there and get so caught up and so stressed that I can't handle myself and I can't even look at her? I ate your carrots. You ate my carrot? Or am I going to say, God, well, that is annoying, and I will label my carrots next time, but it's okay. Tomorrow will come and the world will turn, right? Okay. So that's actually a big one that I think a lot of people can take a look at themselves and kind of check in on where they are on that scale. And I think we might have another question. Let's check it out. Okay, we've got a couple. Nice. Guys, I'm just reloading. Thank you for being so engaged. I know. Okay, Rosa. Hi, Rosa. Hello. Rosa's asking, I was reading that healthy fats and exercise can get cortisol lower after a workout. Yeah, absolutely. So back to kind of the point of what type of exercise you're doing. So remember, when we're talking about either getting out of adrenal fatigue, we don't actually want to be doing excessive exercise. We want to be doing low to moderate intensity exercise, like yoga or walking or swimming, things like that. And absolutely, healthy fats help your body make hormones, and they also give you energy for a much longer period of time, as opposed to refined sugars and carbohydrates, which are just going to help you burn up energy really quickly. Wakaz, yes, yoga we just mentioned. Thank you for bringing it up again. Rosa, what vitamins can we take? Excellent question, Rosa. And we are actually going to be talking about that in a couple slides, so please stay tuned. For sure. Okay. So outside of stress, guys, Nadia touched upon this a little bit right now as well, but another physical stressor is the food that we eat. So if we're eating a lot of processed food, junk food, refined carbs, a lot of sugar, that places stress on the body as well, and it actually depletes some of the vitamins that are needed for healthy adrenal glands. So when you have a lot of sugar, it's actually depleting some of your vitamin C and your magnesium and your B vitamins. So these are important. These are important nutrients. Yes. Yeah. And lastly, there's some stimulants that are not good for the adrenal glands if you have them in excess. The occasional cup of coffee is not going to do anything. But if you are addicted or dependent on coffee and you're having it every day, alcohol every day, or nicotine, those are stimulants that basically tell your stress hormones to start spiking up. And then that leads into that vicious cycle of adrenal fatigue. Yeah. Okay. So just to reiterate that vicious cycle, here's what happens. Let's say I am constantly stressed because Nadia is also stealing my carrots. And remember, so constant stress means chronic, prolonged stress. So it's not just I have one really big project that is taking me 3 weeks to complete. It's compounding. So it's, and new mothers actually deal with this a
ton because of the new stress that they have of being a new mom.
Exactly.
They don't know what to do. They're always worried. Obviously, they have a new little one that they want to do the best for. So, and you know, that little one doesn't just get easy and it's simple and that's over. There's sleep deprivation. There's years of dealing with that and all of those things. So that's one example of how chronic stress can start and then continues to go forward, especially if you're not supporting yourself along the way.
Perfect example. So another one that a lot of us probably can relate to is just work. When you are constantly just uptight at work, or you're in a fast-paced environment and you're stressed out, that's going to lead to some adrenal fatigue and some burnout. And in order to cope with that, because your glands are not secreting enough of those hormones, you have to make up for that energy source and that glucose. So you turn to stimulants. You maybe turn to coffee to prop yourself up, or you need that 3 p.m. muffin or a sugary snack. Again, these are all things you're propping yourself up artificially. And then what happens is that worsens adrenal fatigue. And then it's a vicious cycle and you're redoing it over and over again. But we will tell you how to get out so you're not trapped.
We will. And I just want to talk about energy a little bit. So these type of stimulants will give you energy, but you need to look at them as there's a cost to that energy, right? So a little bit in the morning, not a big deal. When you are addicted to coffee and having several cups throughout the day, that's when your body is using the caffeine really quickly and then you're crashing. And that kind of spike over and over again depletes you.
Exactly.
I feel like I see Jeff in the background being like, that's me.
So on to help me. How can we help you guys? So this is where we will start talking about some of the natural remedies and how to start reversing adrenal fatigue.
Yes, because, and I think this is important for you guys too. A lot of the times when we deal with, you know, issues or health concerns, a lot of us want to say, what can I take? Tell me the supplement.
Magic pill.
Give me that magic pill. Or, and it, you know what, it doesn't have to be a pharmaceutical. It can, sometimes people use supplements like they do pharmaceuticals, and that's not good either. We need to really focus on the fundamentals, the basics, the lifestyle stuff. Yes.
Just to add to what Nadia said, guys, a supplement is a supplement.
Supplement! That's perfect. I've never even thought of that before. It should be supplementing the other things that you do. I'm just going to check. I think we might have some questions. Rosa, that's me. Yes, Rosa. I think a lot of us feel this way, for sure. Angie says, this is my life. Thanks for the info, ladies. Like you are in my head. Angie, I'm so happy because so many people feel this way. And it can be absolutely exhausting. Not only because you feel this way, but because half the time you don't know how to get out of it. You think that, you know, oh, I'll just go on vacation for 1 week to Cuba and it'll be no problem. Unfortunately, 12 years of stress and 1 week in Cuba is not going to reset everything. It's not. Takes some time, takes a little bit of energy to start slowly and undo that damage that's happened, and then you get back on track.
And honestly, most of us have been through this, like with the modern pace of life right now. I've gone through adrenal fatigue multiple times. I'm not sure about you.
I know. We have a ping pong table in our office at the Hearty Soul. And literally sometimes when we get stressed, we're like, okay, we need to just relax.
Close the laptop.
And we need to balance a little bit of work with a little bit of play. But we keep each other accountable. And it's important for you to do this with your partners, with your friends, with your colleagues too, to make things a little light sometimes. Keep them accountable. Check in.
Go for a walk.
Go for a walk.
Take a break.
Instead of scrolling through your Instagram feed, maybe put it down and do something different.
So here's just some ideas, guys. There's such a long, endless list of lifestyle things you can do. The first one that requires no extra equipment is just deep breathing. That suddenly triggers your parasympathetic mode, your rest and digest mode in the body. And all you need to do is take in deep breaths, you know, maybe diaphragmatic breathing. And
I love that these three, actually, you can knock them all off in one thing. Because
do them all at once.
Exactly. With yoga, not only are you getting a little bit of gentle body movement, you're also getting breath work and you're also getting meditation. So it's personally one of my favorite forms of exercise. Yeah.
Same.
And goes into low intensity exercise.
So personally, I was recently going through a bit of burnout as well. And guys, I was trying to do HIIT workouts. I was doing so many cardio classes, and I wasn't feeling energized afterwards. So instead, I recently started doing more swimming. I started doing more restorative yoga, which is just deep stretches for like 5-7 minutes. I was on a high for like 2 days. And sometimes mental health is just so much more important, or just as important as burning those calories.
Well, and it's when you take care of yourself, you're able to actually be a better version of yourself. No one does well when you're not doing you.
Exactly.
If you will.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Carving out time for hobbies as well. How many of us don't do this anymore? We're so busy with work and family life and social obligations. So going and socializing is not the same as a hobby.
It's true.
Usually when you ask people, what do you do to relax? They say, oh, I go to a restaurant with my friends, or, you know, I'm going for a movie. But are there other interests and things that you once liked doing that you don't do anymore? Maybe it's knitting.
Creative expression.
Maybe it's painting.
Dancing, reading,
a comedy,
craft.
improv class.
Maybe you want to make wooden toy trains.
Exactly.
Who knows?
So taking time for hobbies. Something that's gotten really popular right now and is so easy to do is, I'm sure every bookstore has it, is adult coloring books.
Oh yeah, adult coloring books.
So that's really relaxing, guys. It's just super nice to tune out in the evening and color and listen to some music.
And when you do that in the evening, you avoid the screen, increase melatonin production, better sleep. Thank you, adrenals. Yes, exactly.
And the last two things can go hand in hand as well. Taking a long bath and maybe putting some essential oils in there. You can put essential oils like lavender, or ylang ylang. Am I saying that right?
I never say I always say ylang, ylang, ylang. Yeah, I'm not even going to try it.
So I hope that's right. But yeah, or even diffusing essential oils, even smelling them, putting some on your pillow, on a handkerchief. Any of those things really work, guys.
Yeah, and this doesn't need to be crazy. This should be fun. So even setting some time aside once a week, literally, if you're like me, you schedule your entire life. My calendar looks crazy, but I should be at least scheduling in a little bit of time where it's blocked off, 1 hour, where I'm making sure I'm doing something for myself. Self-care, so important.
Very important. And women usually don't do it.
No. So,
not enough.
Moving on to one of my favorite slides as well is when we get off of the lifestyle things and now talk about things we can supplement with.
Adaptogens. So this is a type of herb, guys. You may have heard this term before. Adaptogens essentially help your body adapt, in the name, adapt to or cope with stress. And what I've noticed with this is it improves your mindset and your reaction so much. So I've had this said to me from clients and personally experienced this too. When I take adaptogens, I'm just a bit more zen. Like things can just get thrown at me all day and I won't suddenly break down or be on the verge of tears or just get stressed out. I'm like, okay, cool. And I can handle it. And that's the power of adaptogens. So some of the most popular ones, ginseng, rhodiola, and ashwagandha in particular have had a lot of clinical studies done on them. And you can see the exact dosage to take in the article that's linked to the live video.
Remember with these guys, sometimes ginseng can actually be stimulating. So you want to work with your favorite healthcare practitioner to figure out which one is right for you and if it's contraindicated for any other things that you're taking.
There's two kinds of ginseng to add on to what Nadia was saying. I keep learning more and more from Nadia.
There's several different types of ginseng.
Two, I guess, common ones that I'm familiar with are Panax and Siberian. And then I've heard Panax ginseng is the one that's more for like very high stress levels, and Siberian ginseng a little bit more for like low to moderate. I don't know if that's
It can be. So Panax is generally more stimulating, where Siberian ginseng is a little bit more chill. And then the other thing that I would say with adaptogens are you don't want to be taking them every single day for the rest of your life, right? So there's something that you would want to cycle on and off with. And again, if you're working with your favorite natural health care provider, who is well-versed in this. They'll help put you on a schedule of how to use them properly. They're very powerful, very beneficial.
And you can get them in a variety of formats. So you can get them as a tincture or as an extract. You can get them in a pill if you want at a health food store as well. Or our favorite way is a herbal tea.
Schisandra berry is one of the ones that we haven't mentioned here, but one of the blends that are my favorite from Effect Health is the Daily Balance blend. And it's named that way because it has Schisandra berries in order to help people stay a little bit more balanced.
We have a packet here. We can show them
the
packet. Nadia's getting the packet. Okay.
Literally one of my favorite teas. Okay.
All right, so moving on from adaptogens, the last thing that we want to talk about is what I believe one of our readers asked us too.
Yes, going back to the questions.
Nutrients. So there are certain nutrients, guys, that are very tonifying and just great overall for the adrenal glands. But before we even go to the nutrients, the first point over there is just eat real food first. It's so important to set that as your foundation and just start cutting out the processed food, less sugar, more blood sugar balance, more good proteins and good fats to kill some of those sweet cravings.
So your natural multivitamin is real whole foods.
Exactly.
And it's actually your body's easiest way to absorb those nutrients is from the source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you are very depleted after talking to your healthcare practitioner, they may suggest taking things like vitamin C, vitamin D, your B vitamins, all those things that are getting depleted under stress, magnesium and zinc. So
these two are two of my favorite ones to help patients with. So definitely a multi-B complex that involves B5, B6, B12. And magnesium. Magnesium is fantastic. I actually take a magnesium daily.
Yep.
Most people are deficient in it anyways. And these are also things that, unlike the adaptogens, you could take these all day, every day. It's not a problem.
Exactly.
But you don't want to take them all day, every day. Do not take that recommendation.
Just chugging a bottle of magnesium.
Disclaimer.
Nadia said I could take it.
No.
Okay.
And that's it. So, guys, takeaways. Easiest things that you can do starting right now,
today.
And these are basically going to be your building blocks for getting over adrenal fatigue if you suspect you may be struggling with adrenal fatigue. Sleep. Prioritize sleep.
With an eye mask.
With an eye mask, a nice dark room, making sure you are actually taking the time to get at least 8 hours a night. Eat. Don't starve your body and give yourself good fuel. Eat regularly throughout the day. Track. So this is my favorite one out of this entire list because I had mentioned earlier, I think I'm great at handling stress. And then I do a stress journal and I see all the little points and I go, oh, I'm actually maybe not that great at handling stress. So an easy way to start a stress journal, 7 days, use your phone throughout the day. 3 times a day, you're basically going to check in with how you're doing and rate how you feel on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being you are super stressed and 1 being you're on that beach in Fiji or Hawaii, okay? 3 times a day. Write it down. After the 7 days, do a total tally and you can see the patterns of stress you've dealt with and you can check in with how stressed you're actually being.
And if you are actually a fan of journaling, guys, another thing you can do to start reducing stress is a gratitude journal. So that's something that I like doing as well, is when you think like, oh, I'm so stressed, I'm so anxious about 100 different things, take 5 minutes in the morning just to write down a couple of things you're very grateful for, and naturally you're going to feel more calm.
Absolutely. And I can't stress enough, as soon as you start paying attention is when you make changes. So if you're sleeping and you're not even aware that you're stressed, how can you make changes? So move. Regular, low to moderate intensity activity. Our yoga, our walking, meditation, etc. And this is also one of my favorite, which is build. So build back up your resources. Get more energy back into your energy bank by taking the time to do things that are fun. Creative expression, like we mentioned before. Play, spending time with friends and family, getting a hobby, having sex, having more self-care, meditation. All of these things are just as important and make you take care of yourself. That's it.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nadia, for recapping that.
No problem.
I guess, yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you have questions, we're still hanging around for a few minutes.
I think, do we have some time for a little bit more? We have time for 2 more questions. Okay. Perfect. Actually, I'm going to just randomly choose this one. Mary asks, what are your thoughts on adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha? I've heard that rhodiola is helpful to recover adrenals, but not so sure for hormonal imbalance. Again, this is a perfect opportunity to work with your healthcare practitioner because they're actually going to be able to pinpoint what herbs are best for you. Herbs are also really cool because when they're put in pairs or more than pairs, they can work synergistically together. So they will probably help you create a nice little blend that will do a lot of great things. But there's no one easy answer to that. And last question, Alice asks, I'm going to active workout. I recently stopped working, as mentioned, that I need some short leave. Well, that's less of a question, more of a statement, but Alice, that's great. Sounds like you're taking the time to do what you felt necessary and to take care of yourself. So thumbs up and hats off for you.
You're listening to your body.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that's
all
it.
we have time for.
Guys, thank you so much for being a part. I feel like that was our most engaged one yet.
I feel like a lot of you guys really resonate with this.
I know, and if we didn't get to your questions, I saw a couple other ones. Don't worry, we're going to answer them in the comments. If you guys have any other ideas of things you want us to cover, topics you want us to talk about, please let us know in the comments. Send us an email. We love your feedback.
Yep. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys.
All right.
We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.